Hi, I'm Terry Thompson, and I'm so glad you've joined us for another episode of our weekly video where we highlight particular aspects of my new novel, Daniel, Prophet at the King's Command. Today, I want to discuss probably the most dramatic part of this book of Daniel, where Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, Daniel's three best friends, who were elevated with him to the highest ranks of office in the Babylonian Empire as as exile slaves. Only God could have done something like that. But before they had gotten really settled into this job, where Daniel was actually the number two ruler under King Nebuchadnezzar, the king had decided to make a golden image of himself and have everyone worship this golden image. Well, this kind of shocked Daniel, dropped in on him unexpectedly, and you can imagine the stress of that. He's just the next ruler underneath King Nebuchadnezzar, and his whole Hebrew exile population there in Babylon was going to be asked to bow down to an ungodly image of a king instead of bowing down to their own Jehovah God. Now, Daniel had instructed these Hebrews, all of them, there's about 30,000 of them at that time, to do their very best to abide by every requirement of the government that was hosting them or keeping them in exile, but certainly taking care of them. But never to the point, if it ever happened, where they would have to abandon their God or be untrue or disloyal to their one true God, Yahweh. So, what was Daniel going to do here? Now, there's a lot to this story. There has to be, that is not in the Bible. Now, let me just say, I believe firmly that God only puts in the Bible what he wants us to know, and God didn't shortchange us any in this story. Okay, everything that He wanted us to know about this particular part of the book of Daniel, where the three friends are going to be facing execution in the fiery furnace. It's all right there in Daniel, the way God wanted it to be. However, it's obvious that a lot more went into this story than what we have in 30 verses in the book of Daniel. And that is where my book expands on this, based upon logic, based upon research, historical research of the times and the culture in that day. And I had a lot of fun putting together this story, this particular story, as I think it very likely happened, but that you won't find in the Bible. It's entertaining, but it's also enlightening and inspirational in some places. So here we have the king saying, I'm going to play some music in all across the empire, in every city, including right here in Babylon, on occasion. And when you hear that music, that's a signal for everybody, every citizen of Babylon, and every slave, and every man, woman, and child, to bow down to this golden image. The image was actually a few miles out from the main gate in near Babylon, but they were supposed to face it and bow down to it and pay homage to it. And the 30,000 Hebrews, Daniel knew, couldn't do that. That would fly in the face of their Yahweh. The Yahweh wouldn't bless them if they did that. That wouldn't glorify Him. So what did he do? Well, I know that he had to have put out the word some way through the networks, the way I presented it in the book. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who worked for Daniel, sent the messages out to all the Hebrews saying, when you hear this music, do not bow down. That would be flagrant disrespect for our Yahweh. Now, we don't get too far into the story till here comes the music. Uh, and Daniel, of course, is going to be interested in that. So I show him running outside to see what people are doing, and he looks and he sees hundreds, maybe thousands of people bowing down to this golden image. But he also sees all the Hebrews, the people in the marketplace, the people on the construction jobs, the mothers and the children playing. None of them are bowing down. They're going along with with normal life. Well, in just a matter of minutes, some officials drag Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego into the king and say, these three were not bowing down, so you have to throw them into the fiery furnace just like you said. Well, why was it just them? Why didn't they bring everybody in? Could they burn everybody? What would that do to their economy if they lost all that labor, for instance? So lots of questions there. Why did they not bring Daniel in? Would the king have turned against Daniel, his number two person? So anyway, these three were the only ones that were indicted for not bowing down, and they were marched off to this fiery furnace. Now, what's a fiery furnace? The Bible doesn't tell you, but you can research and find out that there were furnaces in those days for melting limestone and producing building products that were heated to just unbelievable degrees of heat, and they used that for executions on occasion. So this is what they were doing. Where was Daniel in all this? The Bible account of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the fiery furnace doesn't even mention Daniel. It's like he's somewhere else. Well, he's not. I show him right there in the shadows, face down, lying prostrate on the front of his body on the ground, praying earnestly, crying out to God to save them. Now, just prior to that, we had one of the most instructive verses in the book of Daniel, where when the king had them before him and giving them an opportunity once again to bow down. In chapter 3, verse 16 of Daniel, it says, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego replied to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we do not need to give you an answer concerning this matter. If it be so, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the furnace of the blazing fire, and he will deliver us out of your hand, O king. But even if he does not, the God whom we serve is able to deliver us, and let it be known to you, O king, that we are not going to serve your gods or worship the golden image that you have set up. Key words there. But even if he does not, when we are facing trials in our life, and we have a tendency to pull away from God, God is still going to be there with us. And we can say with confidence, even if God does not save us through all of this, even if God does not rescue us from where we are, we will still serve him, and we will ultimately spend eternity with him. And that was the confidence of these three. You know the story. They go into the fiery furnace. King Nebuchadnezzar is there observing the execution, and suddenly he looks in and is shocked, and he said, there are 4 people in that furnace, and they're walking around in the fire. Didn't we throw just 3 people in there? Yes, but now there's 4. Well, we learned that 4th one was an angel, probably in the form of Jesus, prior to his coming to earth as the Messiah. Anyway, it ends there, but there is so much that you can add to this story that the Bible does not really give us, but that is obviously a part of the story and gives you a wide range to imagine how this all came together. And I do that for this story, of course, and several more stories in the book that I think you're really going to enjoy. It'll give you some insight into Daniel like you've never had before. I hope you will buy the book. Let me encourage you to order it early. It's in pre-order right now. You can go to any of your favorite online bookstores and pre-order it. And there is an advantage to you and to me for you doing that. I've explained that earlier. I won't go into that again. But If you want to go to my website, terrythompson.org, scroll down and there's a link there for you to order the book from Amazon. If that's where you'd like to order it, it goes right straight to my book page where it's sold. Also, while you're on my website, I'll be coming out with the March newsletter here in just less than a week. And if you haven't been getting those, it's going to be really interesting this time, talking about the marketing of the book and everything. Some interesting things about publishing a book in there and how it's marketed. So if you want to read that, you need to go to my website and sign up where it says receive my emails. You'll have to scroll down a little bit to get there. But I really would like to share this email with you, and you can stop it at any time later on. So until next week, have a great week, and I look forward to seeing you right here next week when we will cover another part of Daniel, prophet at the king's command.